Hi, welcome to 30-Minute Fitness with Amy Lewis. I'm Amy Lewis, and today we are back in the kitchen, which is absolutely my favorite spot, and we are making some quick high-protein snacks today. I am having a crazy November so far, and maybe you are too. One of the things that's really important as we head into the holiday season, or any time of your year that it gets crazy, maybe summer's crazy for you, you want to have some grab-and-go snacks that are going to be ready for you so that you're not running into a convenience store and grabbing a Snickers. And that might happen once in a while, but we want to have some things on hand so we can stick to our clean, healthy eating habits even when we're on the go. So I've got two recipes that we're absolutely going to get to today, and a third one that we'll do our best to get to. So we're going to be making some high protein bars. Now this recipe I tweaked, as I always do, and we're tweaking it a little further today because I am missing an ingredient. So I want to show you how you can get inventive and creative when maybe you're missing something too. So these protein bars are really super easy because what we're going to do is throw everything into one bowl. We're going to mix it all up, and then we're going to press it into our pan and throw it in the freezer, and then you can eat it as soon as you like, as soon as it's set. We're experimenting a little bit today. We're using bananas instead of oats, and I'll let you know how you can use those oats, but that's going to be, whoops, I don't have the right ingredient. What can I do? So you always want to look for a solution because there's always a way. So let's get mixing here. There's just a few ingredients in these high protein bars, and once they're frozen, you can cut them up easily. When you do use the oats, you don't necessarily have to keep them frozen. You can just take them with you on the way. We'll have to see what happens with the bananas. So you would ideally want to throw in 1.5 cups of quick rolled oats or a quick cooking oat. So instead of that, because I do know that bananas are also a carbohydrate and so are oats, I had luckily an extra couple of bananas, and I'm going to mash up at least a banana, maybe a banana and a half, into the bowl right here. So let's see if I left my masher at home. I actually have a masher, so I'm just going to use the back of a slotted spoon. You could try a fork, you could throw it in the blender, whatever works for you. Now I know I love bananas like this. Lots of people like to use these bananas, and what I mean is it's super ripe, right? It's going to be a lot sweeter this way. So lots of people use these for cooking. Instead of throwing them out, throw them in your freezer, and then you can throw them in your blender, and you can make, it'll come out like soft serve ice cream. So it's a really, really great way to use things that maybe you would throw out that's still edible, but maybe you wouldn't like to just eat it that way. So I'm gonna start with the fork, and you just wanna mash, mash, mash. And yep, let's get that all mashed up. And that's a nice thing too about using a super ripe banana, is it easily mashes. Now, since I needed 1.5 cups of rolled oats, I'm looking at this banana, and to me, it looks like it's probably not more than 1/2 cup. So I'm gonna take my other banana. And you don't have to eye it out. If you are new to the kitchen, or you've been kind of scared of the kitchen and you're just getting in there, by all means measure. After you've been doing it a while, you get a feel for things, you won't need to measure. Even though I usually cook without a recipe, I have found great value in going back and actually following the recipe, because then I can see what the author of that recipe had in mind. And sometimes it comes out amazing, right? So here we go, mash that up. And again, if you wanted to measure it out to make sure you don't have too much, because we might now have too much, you could certainly do that. So we're mashing in that banana, making it all mashed up, nice and mushy. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in 1/2 cup of nut butter. Now, when you choose your nut butter, it really depends on what you can digest. Lots of folks have trouble with peanuts. That's often because some people can't digest the legumes so well, or sometimes peanuts have a fungal quality to them. So if you do well with peanuts, go for it. Enjoy your peanut butter. If you don't, you could try almond butter, cashew butter, sun butter. There's so many things out there. Sun butter is a great choice if you have a tree nut allergy. So you could always do sun butter. It's from sunflower seeds instead of nuts. So what we're looking for is 1/2 cup of whatever nut butter you chose. So let's just grab the half cup measure. All right, and you can either just spoon it out. Since this is clean and this is clean, I could just dip the whole thing in there and scoop it. And you can be really exacting with your measurements. If you wanted to, you could take a knife and just go right across the top. Throw that right in there. And we'll set that aside. And I'll just take my fork and scrape off as much as I can. And you might want to have a plate or even just use your measuring cup sort of as a spoon rest. I like to keep it as clean as possible for my own self. So you have to see how you cook best. I end up kind of all over the place, but I've got my own system. And then you want to mix that nut butter in. And I like to do it this way. You could dump everything in a bowl and then mix it. I like to do, especially since I'm trying the banana today, I want to make sure that's mixed. And yes, I still see some chunks in there of banana. If you don't like chunky banana in your granola bars, then you want to throw it into a blender or a food processor. So let's see what else we've got. We've got a half a cup of raw honey. Now, if you had a clean and clear measuring cup or a measuring cup that you would use for liquid, a trick to get the honey to not stick would be to use a cooking spray. So I'm going to eye this out. I'm going to spray this cup measure so that the honey easily comes out, and then I'm just going to eye out the half cup. Now I'm going to do this over here so I don't make a mess. I'm not really well versed with the cooking spray. So I'm just going to hold it and let's see if we can get it to go. I practiced earlier and it worked, and now it's not going for me. Oh, there we go. So I guess it has an open and close. So this is a really neat trick, and I honestly don't remember where I learned it. If I did, I would be happy to share that. I like to use raw local honey. One of the benefits of using local honey is that it's made from local bees, which are familiar with what is happening locally. So if you have allergies, for example, and you use local honey, oftentimes your allergies can be alleviated because those bees are making their honey from the flowers that are local. So really, really interesting. And there you go. So I'll show you this. There's a drop of honey that I'm scraping out. But for the most part, look how clean that is. How cool is that? And that's all from the cooking spray. Now, we could have done the same thing with the peanut butter. Or I'm sorry, I used cashew butter today. So you could have done the same thing with cashew butter. Now, if you have trouble with peanuts because of the fungal quality, you're going to want to stay away from cashews as well. So you could always try almond butter or something like that. So I'm going to mix that honey in. See, and it looks much more like a batter with the banana. So maybe you would stick with the one banana, right? It's not really together yet. And then we're going to put in 2/3 of a cup of protein powder. Now I'm using a hemp protein powder today. You really, again, need to see what works for you. And I'm smiling because I hear myself say that so often. There's whey protein powders, there's pea protein powders. You've got to see what you like. There are protein powders without stevia. Stevia is a natural sweetener it's plant-based. However, some people don't like the taste. So it doesn't matter how good it is for you if you're not going to use it. So you might have to play around with some different protein powders. This color might not be appealing to you. Right, so that's 1/3, and let's do 2/3. And again, I'm not exacting. It's fun to see what happens when I do actually follow the rules. So you can play around with that and then mix that in. Now, if you wanted, you could do a berry flavored protein powder or a chocolate or a vanilla flavored protein powder, and that would alter the taste of your protein bar, obviously. Mine are going to be a little dark in color, and I might even add a little more protein in because of the banana, but let's see what happens here. Now with this, if I didn't add cocoa powder, and that's something I could do with a plain protein, or a vanilla, I could add chocolate in if I am a chocolate lover, which I am. Or if I didn't want the chocolate, maybe that bothered my belly, you could add in cinnamon and ginger. And often that's what I do, is I'll just add in the cinnamon and the ginger. So we mix that up, and I need a little more protein powder because, like I said, that banana is so liquid. It's really liquidy with that mushiness. So I just did another third of a cup. Now this is me improvising, so you're gonna wanna stick with that 1.5 cups of oats if you've got it, or 1 banana. That way you won't have to add another third of a cup of protein powder like I am. Now the last thing that we're gonna add in is a handful of mini chocolate chips. Now again, I went to a local health food store and I grabbed some chips. You can look and you can grab allergy-free chips, and that would boil down to what are the ingredients and what is made in the same factory. All right, so now, again, those oats would be nice, but we don't have them. So I'm gonna grab a handful of chocolate chips. I'm gonna sprinkle them in, and let's face it, I love chocolate, so let's do another. If you don't like chocolate chips, you could always put in some dried fruit or nuts. The oats also change the color. So now that we've got this all mixed up, we're gonna pour it into our pan here, and then we're gonna freeze it. So that's gonna be really neat. So let's just grab a spatula so we can scrape it out. Now you're gonna wanna take your pan about 9 by 13, and you're gonna get to decide how much or how little, how thick they are really. So you're gonna put it in. Now in my 9 by 13 pan, I've lined it with plastic wrap, just to make it super easy once these freeze up to remove them. If you didn't wanna do that, you could use wax paper, parchment paper, but you wanna spread these really thin. And actually, that's how I like them. So you don't have to do that. If you like a thicker bar, that's fine. The reason I like to spread them thin is it kind of makes me feel like I'm eating more, and it lasts a little bit longer for me than the visual of a thicker, smaller bar. All right, so now remember, this is that banana in there, so it's a little more liquidy than it would normally be. And now we're just gonna take this and stick it into the freezer. Let's see what we got. Now, depending on how cold your freezer is, you could leave those overnight. You could check back in 30 minutes. We'll check back in about 15 minutes and just see how they're doing, and then we'll go from there. So the next thing I want to do with you today is show you how to make a protein mug cake. And this is super exciting because you don't need to bake it. You don't need to really wait too long for it. It's something that's super quick and that you could really do in a few minutes. So whether you're in your office or your home, yes, you'd need to be prepared with the ingredients. Otherwise, you wouldn't have them, right? And you wouldn't be able to do it. So all you need for this is 1 egg, a half of an avocado. You are gonna want some vanilla. And again, you can decide on the flavor. So if you want it to be chocolate, you might use a chocolate protein powder. If you were using a plainer protein powder, you can add in cinnamon, ginger, cocoa powder, whatever works for you. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a mug, and I'm taking a large coffee mug, and these have a little lift on them and some skiers as we get into the ski season here in Vermont. So what we're gonna do is you can do this all in the coffee mug. If you wanna take the time to mix everything up separately, that's your business. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna grab my egg and I'm gonna crack it right in there, and then I'm just gonna mix that egg up with a fork. Because really my whisk is not gonna fit in here, but if you really love using a whisk, you can do that as well, or use a bigger bowl. Right? So we just want to really mix that egg up, just 1 egg. And then you want to cut that avocado, and you're going to use half of it. So let's show you how to do that. Now this is really neat, because once you cut the avocado, you're going to have another half to hold on to, and there's all different theories about how to keep it fresh. So what I like to do is I just make a cut in the top, like right in the middle, and then there's this big, huge pit in there. So I'm just gonna take it and go all the way around with my knife, I can feel there's something in there. So I'm just sort of following that. Then I'll set my knife aside and you can just simply twist. And now you've got your avocado. Now with the avocado, you can leave the pit in and then just wrap it in plastic wrap, and that helps to keep it fresher. You can use the knife to stick into that pit and then turn. I want to use this half because it's a little bigger. Right? And now my pit is out super easy. So I'm going to grab a spoon because this is really easy to scoop the avocado out. And again, depending on the ripeness, this one is edible. It's not super ripe like our bananas, but it is going to mush up. So we're going to just scoop that right out into that coffee mug, and I'm going to mush it down. Now, again, it's not super ripe like the banana, so it's going to take a little more mushing. Right, so let's mush it, mush it. And what's happening now is we have some protein with the egg, and then the avocado is, believe it or not, a fruit, and it provides fat. So it's a healthy fat. So many of us are scared of eating fat because we think the fat is going to make us fat. And really what happens is we need fat. We need fat to lubricate our joints. We need fat to cushion our internal organs. We need fat to help regulate our body temperature. So what really happens is we eat too much sugar today, and that can end up leading to fat storage. So you want to make sure you have a healthy balance of healthy fats in your meals throughout your day. So things like avocado, coconut oil, or some of you like to have butter, that's fine. Nuts are a good source of healthy fats. So I'm mixing, 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 trying to get the chunks out so that when we make our cake, we don't have avocado chunks. Then I'm going to add in the vanilla. And for the vanilla, you're going to want to use 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to grab, normally I would just dump it in, but I'm going to grab a teaspoon so you can kind of see what does that look like and dump it in. Now, if you are struggling with your gut health, you may want to seek out a vanilla extract that doesn't have any alcohol. And that exists. You can go to your local health food store and find that. And that's really important if you are dealing with certain gut issues. Otherwise, you can go ahead and just grab some vanilla extract and throw it in there. Now, you have your next choice is going to be, do you want it to be chocolate? Do you want it to be cinnamon and ginger? I'm going to do the cinnamon and ginger just because it's something different. And I think that folks might like to try that. I also have the ability to make another one real quick if we need to. So I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons, and I'm just going to grab a little corner of a paper towel here to wipe this out so that I don't have all this sticking to it. So I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and I knew that I barely had any cinnamon left, so guess what's happening, folks? I'm going to dump it right in instead of trying to shake it out here. And it's going to make me work for it. So I'm going to dump that in. And then I like to get some spices in bulk as well. So this ginger, it was again local health food store, and that was in bulk. Now I'm just doing 1.5 teaspoons. I'm going to set that aside. And let's mix that up. And let's see what else we need in here. So what else do we need? We still need baking powder and protein powder. The baking powder is going to help this to rise when we set it into the microwave. So that's why it's going to be super quick, right? And when you're doing it and you're not talking to anyone and showing them how to do it, these things are so much quicker than what you're watching. So keep that in mind, that when you're alone in your kitchen, you could whip this right up and it really could take you 5 minutes. Of course, once you have the ingredients out. So baking powder, we want, again, 1 teaspoon. And that I do like to use the inside of the container and level that off right there. And that's going to help this to rise, because believe it or not, look how low that is. And now I'm going to add some protein powder in. So I want you to see that, so when we pull it out of you'll be able to see that it really rose. So let's go protein powder. And we're just going to put a tablespoon of protein in there. You already have the egg in there as well. And remember, this is 1 serving. This is just for you. So if anybody else is around, guess what? You're gonna have to make another one. The last thing that I think I forgot, nope, I was gonna say salt. So you could put a touch of salt if you want salt in there. And then there we go. So if you wanted it to look pretty on the side, you would just take a spatula or you could wipe it off. I'm not really too worried about the presentation because I want you to have healthy foods. I do want them to look pretty, but I want them to taste good and I want them to be easy for you. So you're not going to be able to see down here, but I am going to throw this in the microwave for just 2 minutes. Now, the recipe calls for 2.5 minutes. You have to decide, is your microwave new? If it's new, you're going to want to watch it because it's going to zap really, really quickly. My microwave at home is old, so I could put it in for 2 minutes and need to put it in for more. So I'm going to stick that in. Oh, all right, perfect. And so that's cooking down now. Now we have a few minutes that once that beeps off, I want to show that to you. But I think that we can fit in the smoothie as well. So let's head over and show you what you can do there. Now I'm using all the same protein powder today. At home, I have a variety of protein powders because I have a variety of people in my home. So some of my family likes a berry protein, some like chocolate. I like the hemp, and I like a bone broth protein, right? So some people say bone broth protein, but I like that because it helps my gut. It's really flavorless. I can make it any flavor I want. So that's why I like that. Now this, I just put 8 ounces of water in. I'm gonna put another 8 ounces of almond milk. You could use soy milk. You could use whatever it is that you like. You could, if you are a milk drinker, you can use milk. I don't do dairy personally. It doesn't work for me, and it does have inflammatory qualities. So if you are struggling, it might be something to think about trying an alternative. If it works for you, then you can look at what else might need to change. I'm using a single banana in here. I'm gonna put a couple of handfuls of spinach. Now I love these boxes. They are pre-washed. In the morning I can grab it and go. And you're gonna see that this you could put into a couple of different glasses, mason jars, so that you can bring it with you the next day, right? So you can make more than one. A serving for this protein powder is 3 tablespoons. I'll double check that just to make sure. 2 to 4, so I usually do 3. 2 and 3. All right. And again, you can put in whatever you like. I like cinnamon in a lot of my stuff. So before we turn this blender on, let's go see that mug cake. I hear that beeping off and I can smell it. I know you can't smell it. Oh, it needs it needs like the 30 more seconds. So let's just do 30 seconds here. All righty, and then we're gonna turn this on too. I always like to start on low, let it mix a little bit, and then go high. Now the other thing you can add into your smoothie would be ice. So that if you really like it cold, and that makes it a lot frothier. Let's check our mug cake and we'll grab a glass for that smoothie. Be super careful. If your microwave, it can be really, really hot. So let's see where we can grab a plate. This one's gonna be pretty big for our little mug cake, but let's see if it'll come out. Let's grab a fork. So look at how cool that is. Right now you actually have a cake that has no flour. It's got, it's high in protein. It's gonna taste delicious, and it's steaming, so don't dive right in. You gotta wait a minute. Let's just grab a glass. I'm gonna use a little mug today just for ease. If things sort of settled, you can always turn that back on. And you can pour that smoothie. Now this is a great thing because you can take it with you on your way to work. Yes, it's bright green. If you don't like the color, add some berries in. It'll be a different color. The spinach, I promise you're not gonna taste it, and it's just gonna give you that extra boost of energy that you're gonna need. So we've got a protein green smoothie here. And we'll check on those bars in the freezer. We've got a protein mug cake. So we can kind of set that up here. And let's see what's going on. I bet our bars are not quite frozen, but let's see. Oh, they're doing great. All right, they're well on their way. And let's see what we can do here. So they look like they need more time to sort of set, but you can see now they're not moving. Now again, if you had the oats, they would look a little bit different. Yeah, they're not quite ready to cut. You can see that as I'm sliding across, it's still pretty mushy. So you're gonna wanna wait at least a couple of hours so that these can set. And I can feel where those chocolate chips are for later. And you'd be able to cut those and you can have them. You don't have to have all these snacks at the same time, but it's really a fast, quick and easy way to have things on hand. So you take these bars and if you look at this whole pan, you can cut that up. And now you can bag these up and you'll be able to put those in your freezer, in your fridge for grab and go. The mug cake you could take with you in the morning, and your smoothie you can certainly put into some mason jars. So let me know how your quick protein snacks go for you. Let me know if you try something different. You can contact us here at PEG TV. We love to hear from you, and when people try different things, I learn new things as well, and it's really so awesome. It's one of the really exciting things about what I get to do every day. So let us know how your quick protein snacks go. Even if they're disasters, sometimes that happens, right? You have the wrong ingredients. Check it out. Make sure you take time for you this holiday season. I would recommend that even if you forget all this, that today you sit down, you look at your calendar, and you schedule in time for you, time for your shopping, and time just for you, so that you can take care of yourself and have a fabulous holiday season with your friends and family. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I can't wait to see you next time, and I can't wait to hear how your quick protein snacks come out. Have a great day and see you next time.